How you all doing, guys? Brandon here. Welcome back to another episode of the Retro Dodo podcast. This is a fun one because it's an interview with the owner of Console Heroes, a new upcoming brand that is focusing on retro gaming collectibles. Picture the SEGA Genesis cartridge that opens up in the form of a Polly Pocket or a Mighty Max with collectible figurines inside such as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Eggman, and they're also doing other games as well. So we're going to talk with Andrew about the process of developing something like this, how it gets made, how it gets produced, and the future of Console Heroes, which, fingers crossed, I did a bit of prodding in this interview, and I'm hoping a little bit of Sega Game Gear love will come out of Console Heroes in the future. But for now, let's talk about his products and his history in the toy and collectible space. It's a really good episode, and if you do want to support us and keep this podcast alive, you can do so over at retrododo.com/membership, where you'll get a bunch of goodies, ad-free viewing, and exclusive content. So without further ado, let's jump into the pod. Thank you for joining me. I've been keeping an eye on your products for a very long time now. You got in touch with us, must have been months ago, wanting some insight into kind of our opinions on your product, which is always nice to hear because you obviously read our stuff and see our videos, so that was appreciated. And I thought I'd get you on the podcast because I think your products are really going to resonate with our audience, especially the ones into the old school Mighty Max products in the Polly Pocket. So first off, if you could just introduce yourself and kind of give us a description as to what you're building and what your company is going to offer retro gamers.
Yeah. First of all, big fan of your work and what you do. And as we started building this, we were really keen to, like you said, speak to people in the space and in the gaming and retro gaming community, because my compass as we're building product is like, what would I like selfishly and personally? And I think it's been an okay compass because I love video games, always have, but it's nice to kind of speak to like hardcore Sega fans, retro gamers, and just make sure we're on the right path, because I mean ultimately it's for this group that we're building. So so I'm Andrew, and I am building Console Heroes together with my brother Mike and my other partner Casey, and we've all worked in the toy business for like basically our whole career. So I've kind of been working in and around toys before we got into Console Heroes. Never really in licensed products, and I've always wanted to be in licensed products because I've always been into video games. So I thought, how can we make these two worlds collide? Basically, how can we chart a path that would put us into this, space? I guess
Nice. So give us a brief description of the products, because as I mentioned there, I kind of correlated it with Mighty Max in Polly Pocket, but you may say differently.
I think it's a fair kind of like area code to say. I mean, I grew up, I'm a 90s kid, so I grew up on, I played with tons of Mighty Max. I remember having the Skull set and the Snake set.
Nice.
And there was an Ape set, I think, like a badass kind of like gorilla. So I was really into that stuff growing up, and definitely had some inspirations there. I think the big difference on Console Heroes. So what is Console Heroes? Basically, the big thing is like we looked at the collectibles category, and there's obviously tons of video game IP out there, right? Like there's Sonic, there's Mario, there's all this stuff. But what you don't see is hardware being celebrated as a collectible form in and of itself. So it's kind of interesting to think about a collectible toy as the hardware. Because for sure, like if you're into collecting retro games, you can go to conventions or stores or, yard sales and find this stuff. And that's one way to collect it. But for more casual people, it's, I guess, a little bit less accessible. So we thought just seeing that cartridge was a starting point for us, saying like, how do we put that into something unique in a collectibles category on a shelf? And kind of like spun from there, just, what if it could open up? Like, what if characters lived inside of it? What scenes would they, it would be the scenes from classic level, what scenes? And then that was a whole rabbit hole kind of to get into too. Like we would dive into YouTube and see like, okay, what scenes have the most volume in terms of like the video views? What do fans talk about on Reddit? So we really tried to like lean into the fandoms for each individual game and choose stuff that would resonate based on, you know, trends we saw online.
Nice. And for those that are listening to the podcast and not watching, Andrew showed the product, which is, or one of the first products they've made, is a SEGA Genesis cartridge that was Sonic 2 that opens up similar to Polly Pocket in Mighty Max, and you have action figures and levels that you can place and display as a collectible. And the packaging was really something special there because it was incredibly nostalgic. It reminds me of the old Sega packaging. So I guess what inspired you there to keep it like the original? Is it to target that very specific audience like myself?
Definitely. Like we wanted to really stay true to video games. And I think like when we thought about what would maybe make it successful if it ever sat on a shelf, we thought about like just like the pattern interrupt. So like imagine you're like walking through a row of like Funkos, or you're walking through a row of like collectible Star Wars figures or what have you, and you see a Sega Genesis box. You're like, what's that doing there? And that's kind of the...
Looks out of place.
Yeah, and hopefully that's going to drive someone to at least pick it up. You know what I mean? And like study it. And it's not exactly obvious what it is right away. I mean, there's a small cutout, but we chose to have the cartridge and then the actual original artwork. I can grab, there's this thing.
So Andrew's now comparing with the Sega Genesis box. So
this was the Sega Genesis box. And you can see like we really tried to preserve as much of it as we could.
So in terms of licensing, are Sega, so Sega just give you a bunch of assets in authority on their stuff and you can go haywire with it?
Sort of. They have, so Sega has a style guide that they give us. The logo for Sonic 3, for example, is something that they provide. The artwork for the front cover of the game is something that they provide. Inside of that cartridge is a scene from Carnival Night. Carnival Night is notorious. In Sonic 3, people go crazy about the barrel scene, and they have a really hard time with it. So we thought that was a fun moment. And also we wanted to include Knuckles in the set. And this is like really kind of like deep, but Sonic 3 was released in 2 parts. So it was Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles came after, and together with the lock-on tech, it made a full game. But up until that point in Sonic 3, Knuckles is an antagonist and he only shows up in certain cutscenes. And he shows up in Carnival Night. So that's why we chose Carnival Night. We wanted to feature Sonic and Knuckles.
Knuckles is underrated as well. I feel like you came into this a really good time as well, with Sega, kicking off and the Sonic movies coming back, and I think they've even opened up a store in Tokyo now. So I guess I was going to ask, is this timed, or is this just purely out of inspiration and motivation, and you've just managed to hit the nail on the head there?
I think timing is luck for sure. Sonic, the deeper we get into Sonic, the more inspired we are by Sonic, because it's like the first video game I ever played in my life was Sonic 2 on Sega Genesis.
Nice.
And some of my buddies now are having like kids, right? And that they'll have like a 5-year-old who just saw the Sonic movie and he freaks out for Sonic, but he doesn't quite know what this would be, but he still loves it because it's Sonic. And I think that's what makes Sonic specifically a really interesting IP, is like this multi-generational range that it's got, and how it means something different for someone like me who grew up on a Genesis, or someone like 10 years younger who might have played Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, or all the way down to a 5-year-old now who's never heard of either of those games but is into the movies. Yeah. So that's been really cool.
Nice. So you've got Sonic. So in terms of development and what you are pushing out first and in release times, give us some information there, because I know you're kind of in like pre-release, but you did some physical events and you had limited products there. What's the crack there? When can people expect it, and what can they expect? Because I know you're working on some other Sega stuff as well.
Yeah. So we've got our first lineup basically, I'll just hold them up like kind of in a row. So we made Sonic 3. That's one of the first releases, and that's everything I'm about to show is for this fall, I guess. So like we have 5 products going to market for the year 25, basically.
Hmm.
We have like big dreams of doing every video game under the sun over the next year and 2 and 3 years. But like it's crazy expensive to develop this stuff because
Hmm.
we're doing like injection molding and we're cutting steel in China to make it. And all that
Hmm.
investment into development is like serious money.
Hmm.
So we took a little bit of a risk personally to, make this stuff happen on the first 5. But before we go too much deeper, we have to make sure that it resonates and that people pick it up and that they like it before so we've drawn countless. We have like a stack of concepts that is like deep already, and we're listening to all the fans on social saying like, make Vector Man, make Shinobi, make Streets of Rage, make
Nice.
Gunstar Heroes, make Splatterhouse. There's like so many things people are saying. Um, so anyway, but the first 5, Sonic 3, Street Fighter 2,
Nice.
that was
Oh, I
in
haven't seen that
partnership
one.
with,
I haven't seen that one.
yeah, so this is in partnership with Capcom. That
Cool.
was pretty cool because we had to kind of bring both Sega and Capcom to the table to green light it. So Sega would represent the hardware where it's like, we're using Sega's IP for the cartridge, for the Genesis branding, but then we're using
Interesting.
Capcom's IP for Street Fighter, which would be like the label art and the packaging art. So the approvals actually run through both sides.
Hmm.
It's a bit more complex, but I think Street Fighter 2 and Sega Genesis have Capcom was a great developer for the Genesis in general, did
Yeah.
some great stuff. So wanted to honor that. Sonic 2, this was like,
The best of the original Sonics, in my opinion.
for me too, but it's funny. It's like if you speak to Sonic fans, they're really all over the map. I feel like Sonic 3 is actually like a hardcore Sonic fan's favorite. My
Yeah.
favorite Sonic 2 because that's what I grew up playing, but both, I mean, you can't go wrong. And then we wanted to do kind of like a deeper cut. I mean, it's not a very deep cut, but I guess like by,
Hmm.
comparison to Sonic, Altered Beast, maybe a little bit lesser known. But what's cool about Altered Beast was it was actually an arcade game for the Sega Arcade. And then when Genesis came out, they bundled it with the console. So Genesis
Nice.
had 2 bundles when it released. One was Altered Beast, the other was Sonic 1.
Hmm.
So this I think still sold like over 1 million copies on the Genesis in its day. So
It's a
pretty cool
classic.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing we did was we made uh, kind of like a
Damn.
centerpiece for the collection. And this is the Genesis itself. And we made this because we wanted to give fans a place to like kind of house everything. So it comes with the actual console, and then it also comes with this display cartridge
So
set.
cool.
Sorry, well, it comes with Sonic 1, I should say, because that was how it was originally sold. So there's an exclusive game inside of this product, and that's Sonic 1, because that's how it was originally sold, like down even to the artwork on the front.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And then it's also got 4 exclusive characters inside. So it's got Mr. X from Streets of Rage, Deathbringer from Golden Axe, and then Mech Suit Robotnik and Mecha Sonic, which that last one, Mecha Sonic, I think is the first time that character's been done in a licensed figure before. So Sonic fans are like really hyped on that.
So you had to
That's
like
been cool
properly
to see.
develop that yourself, do all the 3D
There's
renders and stuff.
Yeah, that's an example where the style guide depth was not as deep for that character. So we had to kind of like recreate it, go back to the sprites from the game, work with our artists,
Hmm.
and then work with Sega to like really coach us towards getting the right look, feel, color, and make it true.
Nice. So for our listeners, because majority are our listeners, Andrew just held up a big old box of the actual Sega Genesis console that opens up as well, and you can get exclusive collectibles in there. And I noticed there's enough space to add your other carts and your other minifigures into that as well, which is really cool. I want to talk about the manufacturing process because me being me, I'm super curious. We're trying to develop our own kind of like stands and stuff. So it'd be interesting to know what kind of struggles you hit, because I'm sure you did. And the
Oh
initial
my
investment
gosh.
up front must have been significant, because the molds need to be crafted per figure, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I can talk you through it kind of like sequentially, like the stages. So
Sure.
everything starts first with like the concept. And this is like, I think, the most important step. It's not the most expensive step, but it's the most, I would say, the first two steps are the most important, because those kind of set the stakes for how good the product's going to be, if that makes sense. So we work with like really talented product designers and 3D modelers to make sure that like what the factory kind of ultimately gets from us is amazing. So there's an artist, I'll shout him out. His name is Jer. He has a company called Mad Toy Design, and he's been doing vinyls and collectibles like forever. He's incredible. So the two of us will work together. I'll pull up the scene on YouTube. We'll talk about it. We'll start to talk about, okay, this is a 2D game. So how does it look now when it's becoming 3D? Like if you think about Sonic and Emerald Hill, it's all flat. So, but now we're giving it a foreground and a background. So how do we like split that, and how do we keep it visually tight? So that was
And what
cool.
do certain blocks look like from the ground up and stuff?
Exactly. Yeah. So couldn't do that without like a real killer person who like knows design but knows game. It's like a very unique skill set. So that's the starting point. Then we work with a 3D modeler. Sometimes that's the same person, sometimes it's a different person. In our case, it's a different person, to help translate that sketch into 3D. And then from there, we can hand off those inputs to a factory. And then each of these stages has like costs associated. So like a really talented artist to give you a great design will cost anywhere from like $500 to $1,000, depending on like the spec and the scope. And then the initial 3D model will cost anywhere between like $2,000 and $3,000 to get your first piece of clay kind of like on the table. From there, you want to make a sample, because you kind of have to see like everything now exists digitally, but like how does it translate when it's on the table? So that sample is like probably another $1,500 to $2,000.
Oh, so you're not 3D printing the samples? Or did
We
you
do.
originally?
We do. That's kind of a step. I kind of skipped that step in my like summary there. So you're right to like kind of key in on that. We'll do that to prove stuff before we give it to the factory.
Yeah.
So we'll take that first 3D and we'll print it, and we'll say, are the proportions right? Should we scale this up or this down? Like, how does it look when we hold it? Okay, maybe one more iteration, and then we'll give it to the factory.
Yeah.
The 3D print is never intended to be like something pretty that will show to like a customer, or like it's really more as like a proof of concept step in the development
just to
cycle.
see it in the flesh and the size,
Exactly.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we hand it to the factory, and then they will make a sample. They'll make one model, and it doesn't look like something that's 3D printed. Like that thing, I might have a version of that somewhere.
That's the true collectible there, the OG.
So this is a good example. This did not come off a production line. Like this was handmade.
Yeah, nice.
And it doesn't look 3D printed. It's like a different. This is done in China. I mean, there are people who probably do this work domestically too. But I think like the advantage of doing it overseas is if you plan to actually manufacture them, the factory making it can develop the competence by making the first one. You know what I mean? So like they kind of get into the project a little bit. So yeah,
they're like the perfect size as well. The cartridge is the perfect size. I don't know why.
Well, what we tried to do is,
because obviously it's a bit thicker, right? Because the Genesis are like an inch.
I wish it were like true, but like, so this is a SEGA Genesis actual cartridge, and this is ours. So it's
What are we
definitely
saying?
deeper.
3 times thicker, maybe ish.
Yeah, probably three
Yeah.
times thicker. And we
Yeah.
had to make it thicker because it had to house like all the molded elements
Yeah.
and like the
Yeah.
plastic. But from the front, you can't really tell the difference. Like if I were to just like take them away really quickly, and
Yeah.
that's what we tried hard to preserve. Like the length and the height are the same,
Hmm.
so that if it's like, on the shelf in a box, it still looks the part.
So cool.
So yeah, that's like a little bit about the process. And then the most expensive part of development comes when we say, right, okay. So, okay, along the way, everything I just described, you're going back and forth with Sega or Capcom, and they're saying thumbs up, thumbs down, change this, change that, wrong color on Sonic's arm, wrong thickness on Sonic's pinky,
Wow,
wrong,
they're that specific.
oh yeah, wrong quill on Sonic's back, wrong pupil location on Knuckles. Like it's like
So
super.
there's someone's job at Sega to like handle all of this and just triple check all of like the licensed products.
Yeah, it's such like, and it's a really important job, and the team that do it are like they're brand shepherds, and they know the IP like inside out. They're so dialed on what they do. It's really cool. And think of it, like they have to work with, gosh, like how many licensors does Sega have, right? Like
So
if you think
many,
about
yeah.
Sonic t-shirts or Sonic bedding or Sonic pillows or slippers or toys or collectibles, like the categories are endless. So somebody has to make sure that as they get to market, they're representing the IP and the character properly as true. And so, yeah, for any brand in the world of licensing, somebody has to kind of be the intermediary between the maker and the market to make sure that it's done well,
What made you? I know you said you wanted to use the Sonic games because they came from your childhood. What made you pick them? I guess you have to kind of take into consideration the playability of some games as well, right? So I guess that came into the thought process.
So we tried to think about, I think safety was a big part of it. So what I mean by that was like the development is really expensive. Like I just started to rattle off costs. Like before you even have anything you can sell, we've spent already like, we're in for like $6,000-7,000 before we even have one to sell, just to see if it's good enough to maybe sell. And then we have to tool it. And then the tooling is like anywhere between like, 15 and 25,000, depending on the parts, the molds, what you're including. So one product to put this thing into a box is $25,000 or $30,000. So we said, okay, what's going to be the safest return on that investment and development? And we said, okay, well, you can't really do Sonic. I mean, you can't do Sega Genesis without Sonic. If you look at the top 5 selling Sega Genesis titles, 3 of the 5 are Sonic. It's Sonic 1, 2, and 3. And then I think there's like Mortal Kombat in there and Aladdin.
Interesting.
And Aladdin was dope. I would love to do an Aladdin set. It was a really cool game. And there was like
guys that came out of the bloody pots that used to piss me off. Chuck
and used
apples
to collect
at you or something.
Yeah, exactly. Used to collect the apples. And Aladdin had this like sword that he would go through the game with.
Yeah, even the music is really nostalgic on that game.
Yeah.
I had that game, but it was quite hard for me.
Me too.
Age.
It was hard. Yeah.
What about Echo the Dolphin? That was quite a popular one.
Yeah, Echo was actually bundled too with Sonic. I mean, with the Sega Genesis. And
there's rumors there that they might be making a remaster or something.
Sega's doing a lot of cool stuff. I think with the popularity of Sonic, it's allowing them to say like, oh, wow, I think there's a lot of opportunity on our other kind of like foundational IP that if we invest and bring newness to the market, fans will respond. I think they have a new release of Shinobi coming at the end of this year, which looks like killer. So I'm really excited to see how that does.
We're actually working with Sega on some sponsored work for that. I've actually got Shinobi here, so I've been doing a bunch of like research. We got the Game Gear.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna say actually, I would like you to get into the Game Gear. You know, a little handheld console would be good to like pop up. But I guess the Game Gear is like was super niche and it didn't sell as well as the Genesis or the Mega Drive. But who
Funny you should
knows?
say that. I won't give away too much, but I should say that uh, we're taking a hard look at
Good.
it.
So I guess your toy friend is sketching something up or something.
We're taking
That's
a hard
cool
look at
because
that.
yeah, the Game Gear is a phenomenal handheld for its time with the colored screen. Admittedly, it took up a small factory of batteries, but the possibilities are endless there. I guess for the actual sizing of it as well.
Oh, yeah. I think what's cool about that, if you think about like scale, so this is where now like the toy and collectible brain
Hmm.
meets the video game brain. Because if you think about scale in the world of toys, uh, one scale will typically command one kind of price point, but a
Hmm.
smaller scale might command a smaller price point. And often you'll see collectibles companies have different lines that go
Hmm.
to shelf and sit together in a section. So if these carts are 20 bucks on shelf, maybe there's room for a fiver or a tenner to sit
Hmm.
near it. And then when you think of scale and like making that connection
Hmm.
in a shopper's brain, well, okay, what if there's, a blind box with
Yeah.
a world of characters to collect into from the smaller handheld set? It's something we're talking a lot about.
Yeah, I just thought that little mystery boxes or blind bags or something would work well, and if you could move the characters between your consoles and your cartridges.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's one thing, like one manufacturing thing you wanted to do, or even a licensing you wanted to do, but it just wasn't possible? Maybe Sega was like, no, don't do that, or you wanted to plan something and manufacturing just wouldn't let you.
Good question. I mean, it really is. There's something that we want to do that we have to just take our time with, which is to make many more games and to um, make them even more collectible, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. So one of the things we're talking a lot about is doing smaller runs. Um, but smaller runs means a few things. It means more limited, so less people can get them.
Hmm.
That makes them more scarce. Um, we have to kind of crack the formula because it's really expensive to develop, right? So all those factors still apply. But we know that like there's fandom out there for Vector Man. There's
Yeah.
fandom out there for Comic Zone. There's fandom out there for Fantasy Star or for some of these deeper titles. And we really like, so we couldn't say yes to every game up front because of the dev cost, but one thing we really want to do is to be able to cater to all of it. And so right now, a lot of what we're talking about is how do we keep doing Sonic stuff, right? And like things like Sonic in the future,
Yeah.
but then still have room for, because I think that's what's going to make a special video game collectible company is one that actually pays tribute to, I mean, gamers are unique, right? Like everyone likes different stuff and
Yeah.
everyone holds, like for me, if we each said, okay, what's your favorite game on Game Gear, right? What's your favorite game
Mm.
on Game Gear growing up? Like for me, it was Power Rangers. It's so random. I don't know why, but maybe there was a
Yeah. Yeah.
movie that dropped,
Yeah.
but it was sick. It was just a great game. And I think being able to cater to that is one thing that really fires us up. But we have to kind of work our way into the right business equation or business side that like makes that make sense. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you got to have a decent ROI to expand to venture down new licenses and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the fun thing with new companies kind of coming out into the niche. Like we experience it all the time, but it's always some companies that don't do it well or companies that do, and I think you are one of them because it's something that I want, and I can see a lot of other people want that too. And being like transparent with the difficulties and the expenses of manufacturing just builds trust, in my opinion. So I think
Yeah.
it's great what you're doing and being open with it as well.
Yeah. Thanks. So one idea, maybe your fans this is like in the room with my two partners as we're talking about how to do more licenses. So we're thinking about this idea of like the Vault edition. So it's like, all right, we have our core line, right? We just talked about like the 5 products, like that's core line. But like maybe if we took Vector Man to say like Target, Target might say, you know what, like I'd rather be in Sonic than in Vector Man, which would be like understandable. But it doesn't mean Vector Man shouldn't have a sweet collectible that fans can collect into. So how do we make that work? So our thought is like, okay, well, if we create what we call like Console Heroes Vault Edition, we kind of like flip the script. So we do the whole thing direct to consumer, and it's almost like we crowdfund it. So we say like, right, like this thing everyday Console Heroes, those are $20, but Vault Edition, $30, right? It's $10 more, but we're only making 3,000. We're only making 4,000, and it's done. And once we do this one production run, it's done forever.
Yeah.
And we try and pull fans in by like doing a bunch of different titles, putting them up on a site for pre-order, and then like kind of seeing what's really resonating, and then letting the fans help us decide what to build and where to go deeper is like something we're talking a lot about.
Yeah, and I think from a business perspective, that kind of makes sense, and it lowers the risk, especially if people pre-order up front. You go, okay, the pre-order is going to run for, I don't know, 3 months or something. If we hit that number, we're good to go. And then how many you need to produce to make profit.
Exactly.
Limited run games do something like that with their software.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the future of Console Heroes. I know it's probably not what you want to hear because you're just getting these on the shelves. Actually, I want to go back and talk about what is it like and how hard is it to get products into the likes of Target and other retailer stores? It's something we haven't looked at, and it's not a question I've really asked other e-commerce companies, but I thought I'd drop you that line.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard. I would say there's so much on the retail side that goes into even getting. So let me back up. There's 2 parts of being in a retailer like Target, right? Part 1 is getting there, which is a whole mountain to climb, and that's really hard. And what we've learned over the years is that's not even enough, because if you get there and you flop, you're done. They're going to mark down your price. They're going to come to you with the bill. They're going to say, hey, this thing was 20, but it wasn't selling. So now it was 10. And on all the stock where it wasn't selling, like, we're going to need you to pay us back because, we took the haircut.
That's a thing? I thought they just bought like a bunch off you for a wholesale price and it's their issue.
No. So, well, I mean, quote unquote, no. It really just depends on kind of how you're looking at your, like, technically, yes, but also when you work with a company like Target, the assumption on their part is like, this company is my partner. So like, if it works, we're going to hold hands, and if it doesn't work, we're going to hold hands too.
Right.
And you want to be thinking long term with them, and you want to be thinking about being a great partner. And so being a great partner means that if it's not working, you're kind of standing behind your stuff and saying, all right, like, I'm going to help you guys make this right. And so even when we get in, the point being is like, when we get in, it's a huge milestone and it's super competitive and it's hard to do. And then when you're there, you got to say, oh my gosh, how am I going to outsell the thing beside it and the thing beside it and the thing above it and the thing below it? Because either we're an opportunity or we're a liability for the person whose job it is to maximize that space in their store. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
makes sense.
So it's 2 parts. You have to you have to go to them with something unique. You have to, make them. You have to make the finances of the model, I guess, like, make sense. And then on the other side, you have to deliver the results and make the whole thing work.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot.
that's not my side of the day to day. So I'm lucky to have great That's, you know what I mean? Like there's so many facets to it. So I'm in charge of like what game, what scene, let's design it, let's build it, let's
Fun
get it
stuff.
out there. And then I'm lucky to have other great partners who are good at that stuff.
Nice. Let's talk the future of Console Heroes. What's in the pipeline? What can we expect? Where will there be advancements? Like me being me, I would love some kind of Nintendo partnership, but I know how much of a ball ache they are to partner with and to license their stuff away. So I guess, what are you working on? Is Nintendo something that you would like to build as well?
Of course. I mean, of course, I think we would like to build when we talk about, we close our eyes, we're like, all right, what do we want to be when we grow up? We want to be the ultimate video game collectibles company. So, we want to be able to cater to all fandoms, across different hardware platforms, across different titles. And there's what I find so cool about video games is people are really, it's almost like sports, how you you know what I mean? Like you root for a club or for a team. You're like, I'm for, whatever.
Yeah, it's like this Sonic versus Super Mario kind of, isn't it?
So you're kind of, and you rep it. So people are, what I've loved about working with Sega is there are amazing Sega fans out there who are diehard Sega fans, and they grew up on Genesis and they've collected every game and they played it all, and they love Sonic and they love Gunstar Heroes and they love Vector Man and whatever. There's also the Nintendo tribe who's all about a whole other slew of games: Mario, Zelda, Metroid Prime. I mean, Donkey Kong. There's so much there. And more. I mean, for me also, I was a Sega Genesis kid originally, and then nowadays I'm an Xbox guy.
Nice.
I play, but some of my friends are hardcore PlayStation guys, and so I think what's interesting about and cool about gaming is you kind of, you have your hardware that you love, you have your software or the games that you love, and we want to try and be able to do all of it. So the future of Console Heroes hopefully looks like a lot more games, going a lot deeper into Sega's library. I mean, we definitely want to get into more Genesis titles. We definitely want to get into Dreamcast. We definitely want to get into some more miniature stuff or some blind box stuff. So a lot of work being done there right now. And then, of course, we want to, climb new mountains and kind of add to the overall mix, Yeah,
Dreamcast would be cool. Even the console, you've got potential there. And even the controller's so fat that I feel like you could do something there.
I love, and the translucent colors and all the plastics, like the greens and the yellows and the reds. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And obviously Nintendo Game Boys, they would be cool as well. But I hope they come to fruition. I know you've got a lot on your plate. You've got the Sega kind of partnership, so there's endless opportunity there. I got a funny feeling Dreamcast is going to make its way onto Nintendo Switch Online soon as well. So there's going to be hype over the old school games. Crazy Taxi's coming back. Jet Set Radio. So plenty of hype there. So I think you picked a good time to launch. So I guess we'll round off here if you're happy with all the questions I've answered. I usually ask the question: is there anything that I haven't asked that you want to talk about? I don't know if there's anything really in that sense.
I would just add I would add it's been hugely fun to work on this stuff. I think getting to work with the likes of Sega and video game IP owners is obviously dream come true. I think
so cool.
Connecting with video game fans is also really cool. Nowadays I'll do it on a headset with my friends, but to connect at retro game, conventions and talk to people about levels I played when I was 9 and bond over that has been just awesome. And hopefully we're here for many years to come making more stuff. And to that, I would turn it over to the community and say, like, if you guys can, follow us, support us. As we're making sales, we're kind of unlocking rationalization to make the next wave, the next product, the next deal. So, hopefully the tailwinds are there,
Nice. Where can they follow you, and where can they potentially pre-order when you go live your products?
So you can follow us at console.heroes on Instagram, and on TikTok, it's the same handle. So there's just a period between console.heroes. And then for purchase, you can find us on Amazon. You can find us. We're making our way into Target in October, so that's pretty cool. And is
that Amazon now? You can pre-order now, or
pre-order? I think so. I mean, if you can, it's they don't have goods yet, so you might do better on Walmart.com. We have a real milestone we're working on 2 days from now, which is Walmart CollectorCon. So Walmart, they do this like online event every year that coincides with San Diego Comic-Con, and they kind of establish themselves as like a key destination for collectors, while there's a lot of hype online happening around collecting and fandom. So we're doing actually a live stream on Thursday. I'm going to be doing it right from this seat in this room. And our goal is to sell like a really limited number of pieces so that we can create like a great test result for someone on their side to say, right, like, yeah, these guys are great. This product works.
The real deal.
Let's speak to them, and let's maybe look at some future opportunities. So that's a big one coming up on Thursday.
Love it. I just checked Amazon. Yeah, there's a listing there. It looks like you could potentially sign up for maybe interest or even buy now.
Oh, really?
Which is good.
If you buy, you're probably not going to get it for a couple of weeks because, I mean, we don't have it sorted there yet. But I guess they're
place your
getting
order.
ahead of
So
it.
you can pre-order. You can pre-order it. Order now. We'll notify you by email when there's an estimated delivery date. Nice. Yeah. That's exciting, man. You've moved along since our last chat quite a bit. So it's good to see these come to
Appreciate
fruition.
it.
And I want to say thank you for keeping us in the loop. That's what we try and do here, in trying to keep people informed about new products, but also just help cool shit like this come to fruition any way we can. So it'd be cool to get these in our hands to show our audience soon as well.
So I should say one more thing before I go. You are in the UK. You guys didn't grow up on Genesis. You grew up on Mega Drive. So actually, for the whole project, it's funny. I'm Canadian, so I grew up on Genesis. The whole Instagram is overly Genesis right now. We've taken the entire line and built packaging and the labels on the front cartridges for Mega Drive version.
Sweet.
Give me 2 secs. I'm going to grab 2 cartridges just so you can see kind of what we did with Sonic 3 as an example.
That's awesome. Us in the UK were just so used to just celebrating Sega Genesis and stuff online. But yeah, the Mega Drive is the official term. And I'm not going to say it's better, but I am biased a little bit.
Sonic 3 on Genesis looked like this. But Sonic 3 on Mega Drive looked like that.
Yeah.
So we did alternate.
I actually think you got the better artwork, unfortunately, but still badass.
And then just small variations like Street Fighter on Genesis looked like this. But Street Fighter on Mega Drive looked like that. So we changed the packaging and the front labels to match what was true in each of the areas. So the UK will be getting Mega Drive boxes. I'm sending you a full set of samples. Your Genesis is actually going to be a Mega Drive.
No way.
Yeah. And your red marking here is not red, it's white. And your label here is Mega Drive, not Genesis. And when you open it on the inside, it says Mega Drive, not Genesis. So we really tried to keep it true.
What the hell? The expense to just make that change and cater to us greedy UK folk. Fair play.
It's we were able to do it for it added factory complexity because there's just more like variations to manage. but it didn't add too much cost because this is just artwork. It's like a sticker that we apply.
Yeah.
And on the Mega Drive, we didn't have to modify the tooling. We had to modify like some of the paint ops, sprays, the inside kind of stuff. But so there's a little bit of complexity, but we didn't have to spend a whole other chunk of money to like really deliver it. So we thought we got to kind of keep it true, you know? Yeah.
Exciting, man. Well, I appreciate that, and I look forward to getting the samples and making some content for our community. And I wish you all the best, man. I love the company, love the idea, and I'm sure I'll be happy with the product as well. So hopefully, I hope we'll have you back on maybe next year as well to talk about.
I hope so. Yeah.
Your Game Gear.
We got to make this exactly when we have the new stuff on the way. You'll be first to know. I promise.
Sweet, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast, dude.
Thank you for having us. I'll speak to you later.